Good evening, boys and girls. We're moving on to our next lesson in division, dividing with remainders. Now, I want you to recall the book that you just listened to, A Remainder of One. It gave us some real-life situations where people might be left out, or things might be left out, such as our little ant friend. I want you to think of some real-life situations where there might be a remainder left over, where division doesn't work out evenly. And I want you to write that into section 1 of your homework sheet under Global Connections. After you've done that, we're going to move on to some new vocabulary. Our new word is remainder. And what the remainder is, it's the number left over after dividing two numbers that are not evenly divisible. So I want you to copy this and the example into your notebooks under section 2 of your homework sheet. All right, now we're going to jump right in with a quick review of our steps for long division. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? This should always be up on top of your homework sheet as a reminder of the steps that you need to take. The D stands for division. Then we move to multiplication, subtraction, check, and bring down. All right, our first example. 26 divided by 8. So the first question you ask yourself is, does my divisor go into the first number of my dividend? Does 8 go into 6? The answer is no. So then you ask yourself, pull in the next digit, and ask yourself, how many times does 8 go into 26? Now, if we know our multiplication fast facts, we know that 8 times something does not give us 26. We know it doesn't go in evenly. So what I need you to ask yourself then is, how many times does 8 go into 26 without going over? And that answer would be 3. Because 3 times 8 is 24, and that's the closest that we can get to 26 without going over. All right, we've done our division. The next step is multiplication. We're going to multiply 3 times 8, and we're going to get 24. That goes directly under our dividend. Our next step is subtraction. We're going to subtract our numbers starting in the ones place. 6 minus 4 equals 2. And 2 minus 2 equals 0. All right, then we move to our next step, which is to create a new division problem. So we make our house and we bring down our 8. Now we need to ask ourselves, does 8 go into 2? And the answer would be no, because 2 is much smaller than 8. So what do we do with our leftover? Well, as we learned before with our new vocabulary, remainder means the leftovers after you've divided. So we are going to take this 2 and we're going to show it up here with our quotient as R2. And if you've guessed correctly, the R stands for remainder. And this shows that 8 goes into 26 3 times with a remainder of 2, or with 2 left over. All right, let's take a look at our next example problem. 27 divided by 5. So our first step is to ask, how many times does our divisor go into the first number of our dividend? Does 5 go into 2? That answer is no. So we pull in the next digit. How many times does 5 go into 27 without going over? Think of your multiplication tables. And that answer would be 5. 5 times 5 gives us 25, which is the closest we can get to 27 without going over. We then move to multiplication. 5 times 5 is 25, and we place that below our dividend. The next step is subtraction. We start in our ones place. 7 minus 5 equals 2, and 2 minus 2 equals 0. Move to our check stage. Make a new house and bring down our 5. And we ask ourselves, does 5 go into 2? And the answer is no. So the 2 down here becomes how many we have left over. It becomes our remainder. And we put our remainder up on top as R2. So the answer to 27 divided by 5 is 5 remainder 2. All right, so hopefully those steps have helped you out a little bit. It's not much different from the original long division except for the little leftover at the end, just like a little friend Joe from our book. All right, so now we have some practice problems for you to try. We have 3 problems listed here. And I want you to try those in box 3 on your homework sheet. And if you need to, you can review the steps for solving long division with remainders. So here are your three problems: 65 divided by 8, 32 divided by 5, and 19 divided by 4. And remember, if you have any questions, or if you have any comments or strategies that you've used to help you solve these problems other than the steps that I've taught, please put them in box number 4 of your homework sheet. All right, that's it for now. You've been Flipped with Mrs. Manafo.